Hello, Eno. How are you?
Doing okay. It was a sad day, and I also, having just recently lost someone to cancer in my family, I felt that pang for Tim Wakefield, but also a little bit angry at Kurt Schilling. I mean, you know, the privacy at those moments that a family wants to have, I think they get the last word on who gets when they get to tell people and how they get to tell people. And I cannot believe that Kurt Schilling went out there and told people.
Yeah, but let's remember Tim Wakefield on a day like this. What a career. We just did this with Lucas Ursig. Ursig hit some bombs in AAA, but it wasn't going to be good enough, and he had a rocket arm, so decided to make him a reliever. I mean, remember back to Sean Doolittle. Sean Doolittle was supposed to be the first baseman of the Oakland Athletics. He is the guy they thought would be the next longtime first baseman for the A's. Trevor Hoffman, the Hall of Famer. You have the most saves. They're going to name the Hoffman Award goes to the National League Relief Man of the Year. He was a shortstop at the University of Arizona. Tim Wakefield, a failed first baseman, starts throwing the knuckleball. We have this article from Baseball America, J.J. Cooper. We're not going to have time to get into it today, but it's been the crusade that I've been on about how modern day front office people are screwing up pitching all the way down to the minor league level. And, you're going to get to a point where we're seeing so few innings in the minor league level. No one's even going to be able to, not even teams will be able to qualify for an ERA title. We'll get into that at another date. The one guy that can throw a lot of innings, we've talked to Steve Sparks about that, former A broadcaster for the Houston Astros. And you think about Tim Wakefield, you think there ever could be a point you're not worried about a guy's UCL when he's throwing knuckles. He's tough to hit. And if anything, they eat innings, like a tremendous amount of innings. It's almost like save the bullpen. And also when you have a guy like that, who's up there throwing, it's almost like I could come out of retirement and it seemed like I'm throwing hard coming after a knuckleballer. I mean, you've been seeing a knuckleball for 6-7 innings. Now you're coming out. I mean, everything's going to look like it's 8,000 miles an hour. Do you think we could ever see a resurgence of the knuckleballer?
Yeah, I mean, there's Matt Waldron down in San Diego who is really interesting because he throws the knuckleball as part of an arsenal. So he's not so much like Dickey and Wakefield and some of the guys before it. He throws the knuckleball like 15% of the time. So it's just an interesting way to go at it. He has a 93-mile-an-hour fastball and a knuckleball, So
that's devastating. Yeah,
but at the same time, I feel like as a hitter, you can see the knuckleball coming because the mechanics are so different.
But you're like, here it comes. I got stay back.
Yeah, right. You still have to time the 93-mile-an-hour fastball. So it's an interesting combination. I also, when I hear what you're saying, I was just looking at Wakefield, and it's just like innings and innings and innings. And with all the injuries we have, and with what you were talking about earlier, with the fact that I think to some extent what teams are trying to do is save bullets and not have their kids be injured in the minors, and so that's the idea, that they sort of just slowly ramp them up to get them to the major leagues. But at the same time, like if we are going to do that, and these kids come to the major leagues with 70 pitches in their bag, then there is a missing innings. There are missing innings out there that need to be refilled. You know what I mean? Like we can't just like have all the kids come up and pitch 70 innings per start and then use the bullpen. Like there's still somebody. So I think a knuckleball swingman would be really interesting. Like imagine if you had a guy that could mop up innings, or if you're blowing people out, could pitch multiple innings and could do it again tomorrow and could do it the next day. Like I would love to have a reliever that had a knuckleball. I don't know that I would trust him as my setup man or my closer, just because
hard to throw strikes.
Yeah, the throwing strikes is the differentiator between a good knuckleballer and a bad knuckleballer. But they've all had some issues with homers. I think sometimes the knuckleball just doesn't break. It's because it's so sort of a fickle pitch. And so they do give up homers. And so I think it's not, you won't have an ace that's a knuckleballer again, probably for a long time. And you won't probably have a closer. But there's got to be some use on major league rosters. We're looking for innings everywhere to have a guy that can just go out there all the time.
maybe Colorado should go find 5 of them, and that's what you do. Have fun with this. All right. We have breaking news. You have breaking news. Tell us what this we saved it because I'm saving it for you. You're the headliner. What is the breaking news that we have for the postseason?
Well, it just went up on The Athletic, and it's not really big breaking news. It's breaking news with little letters, not the big capital letters.
If you know, we're not doing our old ABC. Dun, 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 dun.
Hot off the wire. It has to do with the process by which they are selecting and using the clock timers. So I think the one thing that was interesting about the course of the season was we had a lot of, and we knew this would happen, we had a lot of violations at the beginning of the season. And then over the course of the season, we saw fewer of them. And if you look at the case study in Philadelphia, we had a ballpark where the Phillies players said, our clock timer's too fast. Like we get dinged more at home than we did on the road. Like, what's going on? Like something weird's going on here.
Yeah.
And when we looked into it, Citizens Bank Ballpark had by far the most violations in baseball and a split where they were penalizing their home team more. So, like, that was the kinks that were in the process of the pitch clock that, over the course of the season, things kind of evened out. By the end in September, there were fewer than 1 pitch clock violations per 4 games. So, like, they really kind of figured it out.
It's crazy. Eno, it's crazy. Human beings figure things out.
Yeah. So
how long have humans been on this planet? We somehow seem to figure things out. By the way, I want to tell you a quick little story because I don't know if we've ever talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
So at the start of where our booth is, the A's Cast booth in the press box. So we're sitting in there, and you keep hearing this beep, beep. Now, in our booth is so unique because our booth is the old replay room for the NFL. So during Raider games, all the equipment is still up there. They've never the Raiders didn't take it. And Oakland's not doing anything with it because they do nothing to the Coliseum. So literally, how long have the Raiders been gone? All the NFL replay technology is these boxes, and you see the wires and people have taken stuff out, whatever. It's all still in my booth. So we're sitting there, and it's just like, deep, deep. And at one point, I turn around, I remember talking to Cody and going, what the hell is that? What is this beeping in our booth? We didn't realize the replay guy was just on the other side. Not replay guy, the pitch timer guy was just on the other side of us on the glass. So we raised the curtain, and there he is. Beep. So it makes noise because they don't want, because once again, you have a human being doing it. You don't want the human being just, I forgot. So he knows, but the sound of it, always he's got to make that sound to keep them from not screwing up. So every single time he hit that button to reset the pitch timer, we hear beep. We got used to it after a while, but if you sit in our booth, you hear beep the entire game because so there is a guy sitting there with a controller. We look right at him and reset it. He just does it over and over and over again.
Yeah. And so there's some like feeling out of that process between the umpires. And so if you look at Citizens Bank in the second half, they're middle of the pack with violations, and they cleaned up that split between home and away. So they've identified something in their process as the pitch clock beep guy that they, when they start that beep or whatever it was that they figured something out and they got better at it. So the clock timers got better at it, and the players got better at it. And yet, if there was a big walk-off pitch clock violation, that would be awful for the sport. I think it would be really bad. And so in the news is that baseball is taking the same approach to pitch clock coordinators as they are doing with umpires, and trying to identify the very best ones, taking them and away from their parks. So, and then putting them on one series. So they stay with that series, home and away. They travel for that series. And so it's like, what they do with umpires, where they try to give you the best umpires in the postseason. So then that we're not sitting here yelling at Angel Hernandez the whole time.
We got the best beep guys in the business going.
Yeah. So the best beep guy.
Older guys still have problems with it. I heard it yesterday with our own Vince Cotroneo. He said it because I have all of the notes from Major League Baseball. I have all of the stuff about how all this offense is up, time of games are down, rules are working. And I did it. So I do hits during the game, and I did during my third inning hit yesterday about, average on base slugs, stolen base percentage, it's all up, pitch time. And then Vince, he's a old soul, old baseball soul, goes, yeah, I know, but in the postseason, it's different. Those pitching's different. And I've thought about it. And there is really this belief that, okay, I hated it, but everything's showing me that it works, but I'm still going to hate on it because the postseason's different. And I had this question for you, because maybe I haven't covered sports long enough, and even though I worked in the NFL, maybe I'm crazy. I worked in the NBA. Does the NBA, the NFL, and hockey change anything time-wise? Do you still have to snap the ball at the same amount of time in the postseason in the NFL, or these snaps in the NFL are more important, so we're going to give you more time?
Right. I mean, they have a clock in those sports. I think it's interesting. I don't want see a lot of people in the media and the players like the pitch clock because the games are shorter. But the players and the media are all working during these games. And so I want to leave room for this idea that maybe not all the fans feel the same way that we do. I mean, we're working at those times. It's okay to work 20 minutes less, like that's why we all agree on it, maybe. But
we all know that human beings, they want it fast and short and when they want.
That's why the modern condition. Yeah.
That's why podcasts, that's why, I mean, there's a reason why, if you go back to yesteryear, even now, all the hit will even go back to radio. There's a reason why all the Beatles songs are like 2 minutes. They're like everything 2 minutes. No one wants to sit here and hear Freebird for 20 minutes. Everything's got to be quick, right? We've always known that with human beings. So it's like, and the thing that's always been tough is, like, tomorrow we're going to have all these games going on. Well, if every one of these games is 3 hours and 40 minutes, my God, I can't follow. I mean, shorter's better.
Yeah, the league has been touting the attendance rule numbers as a big sort of evidence that the rules are working. I will have to push back on that a little bit. There have been 25 non-COVID seasons since expansion, so with 30 teams, and this year's attendance number would rank 17th in those 25 years. So and also we had this big thing, COVID, 0 fans for a year. I feel like some of what's happening now is just a return to normalcy rather than just like, we can't just take those numbers and say, oh, well, we're up 9% from last year and say like the new rules work. So
I do agree. And I mentioned that earlier about, I'm very sensitive when people say 2020 didn't matter, because people who worked it, I don't think feel that way. Right. I mean, everything that we had to do. And then I just say, well, the Final Four in 2020, 3 out of the 4 are here again. And the other one could have been part of the so you look at the top seeds now, 3 out of the 4 were the top 4 of 2020. And the only team not is the Rays. It's just because the Orioles. So the same guys that were competing for the championship, the main guys in 2020, are still the same guys today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and from a attendance standpoint, there's a lot going on. I guess, it's complicated because the new stadiums back then, different sports have coming for the crown. There's different, UFC and like all these different sports have become more popular. So there's more competition for your eyeballs as a watcher in terms of what sports are out there. But I think just generally, I would say that I think it was a good year for the rules, and I'm excited for a playoffs that has more stolen bases and less time between pitches. And I think even though these big moments of gravitas, you want to be able to, you know what Clayton Kershaw told me for this piece? He said, we have ways, man. We have ways to stop the game. We figured it out. You know, like we know we have so many mound visits, and we know we have so many visits from the manager. We know we have so many disengagements. Like if we really need to stop something, we need to. You know what I think of? Alex Cobb out here has really did a new ball thing when he was tired. Whenever he was tired and he didn't want the clock to start necessarily, but can I have a new ball? Can I have a new ball? Like get 2 or 3 new balls.
Throw that one away.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This one works.
This one feels good. So he said, you know, Clayton only had one pitch clock violation all year.
I can't hear anything. I can't hear my pitch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the pitch comp's not working.
And the catcher like, what? You can't hear it? Well, I got to walk out there.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, let's get into some games. I think this series is awesome. By the way, if you're did you see Alex Bregman, the big speech that he was going to give for the Astros after the game yesterday?
No.
Can you play this real quick for Eno? This is one of the greatest, right? I like Bregman. I hate the Astros, but I love Bregman. So get ready. Everybody's got their goggles on. Everybody's got the champagne. Bregman's been a star for them, right? He's one of their
elder statesmen now. Yeah,
he's their guy, right? He's going to have the big speech. We've won the what? Here's his speech.
A lot of people were wondering what it was going to be like if the Stros didn't win the division. I guess we'll never know.
I guess we'll never know. So the Rangers now got to go to the Rays. I got a whole thing on it right here. I think this series is going to be fantastic. Rays are in the postseason for the 5th straight time. They pitch, they play D. Jordan Montgomery was traded over. He's going to be your starter. Glasnow hasn't been great in the postseason. When they're hot, they both can hit. Rangers bullpen scares me to death. It's got to scare Bruce Bochy to death. How you seeing Rangers Rays from the Trop?
I previewed all the pitching matchups for these 4 wildcard series, and this one was the easiest to preview. I feel like it was an utter slam dunk for the Rangers.
Grom and Scherzer are going win.
Yeah, right, exactly. So after all the injuries, and they did try to improve that bullpen, and I will say that the bullpen throws harder than it did early in the season, and there's some good stuff there, but they have no command. You know, Aroldis Chapman, my 11-year-old son said, you know, he's really the epitome of the throws 100 and has no idea where it's going, isn't it? Isn't he? And then he said the throws 100 and doesn't know where it's going guy is kind of like the 3 true outcome guy, isn't it? It's like, oh, my son already understands
out, right?
Baseball.
It's not that hard to figure out. It's like we were touting Mason Miller like he's unhittable, and I'm like, well, when he's been throwing strikes lately, he's very hittable.
Yeah. So so their bullpen has had like a 6 ERA in the last 30 days, and you know, their starting rotation is going to be like Jordan Montgomery and then shrug emoticon after that. So you know, the Jays, the Rays have a distinct advantage on the pitching side. I think on the hitting side, I would probably give it to the Rangers, but it's not like the Rays can't hit. And fielding, I don't know. I'd probably say it's a bit of a wash. So I'm going to go with the Rays in this one because of the distinct pitching advantage.
Rays 53-28 at home this year. How about Yandy Diaz, first batting title for the Rays?
There you go. And he does it with those Mark McGuire pythons that he's got. I don't know if you've seen how big his biceps are, but I love Yandy Diaz. He's a really fun-loving guy and hits the ball super hard due to being super strong. And he has a really good sense of the zone too. So he's totally the kind of guy who can hit 300.
Would we say the New England Patriots are one of the great examples how to win in the postseason back in the day? Would you say that?
Yeah.
So the Minnesota Twins would be like the other end of the spectrum. The anti-New England Patriots, having not won a postseason game, and they've been to the postseason a lot, They've lost their last 18 postseason games. You got to go back to the 04 ALDS. Going up against the Blue Jays, the Blue Jays could be interesting with the pitching. I know they're another team that, God, you look at some of the names, they could be this great team. Twins at home. How do you see Twins Blue Jays?
Yeah, this one was the hardest one to pick pitching wise. I think that there's it's almost a pick 'em pitching wise, because you think of guys like Pablo Lopez and Sonny Gray, and then you got Kevin Gossman and Chris Bassett. So, I think they pitch to each other to a standstill. Maybe the Twins bullpen is better. Maybe the Jays starters are better. So that's a kind of a wash. If you're talking about the series as a whole, one thing about the Twins that's interesting is they have put together an offense. They've gotten good, but I feel like they can be pitched to, because they have really gone wholesale into this launch angle revolution. Like, if you look at the leaders in launch angle by team since StatCast, it's the Minnesota Twins. They try to lift the ball, and they try to lift the ball with power, and so they strike out a lot.
They strike out a lot.
And so they can be pitched to, because they're trying to do one thing, which is lift the ball for power. And that's great, but they can be pitched to. You can strike them out. And I think that may be something that becomes more interesting in the postseason. We know that, for example, teams that strike out less do better in the postseason. So if I had to pick a side, I'm picking the Blue Jays on this one.
I'm looking at Cody at that one. See? But, I mean, Correa hasn't played since September 18th. Royce Lewis, when he does play, all he does is hit grand slams. He hasn't played since September 9th. Byron Buxton, that's not a shocker, hasn't played since August 1st. So they're going into the series without their big guns. So good luck in that one. D-back.
Are any of those guys coming back?
We'll see, but they haven't played.
They'll probably be cold. Yeah,
we were told when the A's took on Minnesota here recently that Correa was supposed to be back. That was the second to the last series for the Athletics. We were told he was supposed to return during that series, and he did not.
Yeah.
D-backs Brewers. D-backs, no matter what a run. We talked about the Giants were supposedly going to be the big spenders and do all this stuff. Still the 10th highest payroll. They fell short. Padres spent like a drunken sailor. No offense to drunken sailors, but that was just a joke. I'm hearing, by the way, at some point they could be up for sale. Just
wow,
putting that out there for you. Yeah, there's problems. There's major problems. D-backs end up in the postseason, so I think they're in trouble here. I'll let you preview it. But the Brewers, obviously, they play a ton of close games. They got pitching. They're playing in their building. They are tough to beat. No matter what, though, I'm very happy for Torey Lovello and what they are building right now in the Valley of the Sun.
Yeah, I did a profile of Corbin Carroll, and I've been really impressed with that young man. He's, I think, already a leader and one of the best players in the big leagues. He did something that no rookie's ever done with 25 homers and 50 steals this year. I really enjoy watching, because he's kind of like, he's a little bit shorter and a little bit smaller than some people, but he's super fast and super whippy, and he's a really interesting player to watch. And just generally, I like Paul Sewald. I like some of their players. I like Zach Gallen, but I don't know that they've developed the depth yet. That bullpen is pretty bad, even with the Paul Sewald addition. I don't know if they've developed the depth to go against the Brewers. The Brewers, I think, have the advantage in pitching, and then the hitting advantage. Maybe Arizona has it, but it's not a huge one. These are probably the two worst offenses in the postseason. And so I'm going to give it to the Brewers based on their pitching supremacy.
Yeah, I mean, you're going Woodruff, Burns will go tomorrow. Woodruff, Peralta. I mean, they've got, and then you can take other guys and put them in the bullpen. Who knows? That's what's great about it. But you look like Brew Crew will kind of roll through that one. Phillies Marlins, last one of the wild card series. If you did the tail of the tape this year, Marlins won 7 games, Phillies won 6. Marlins scored 4.2 runs per game, while the Phillies scored 4.9. The Marlins out-homered them 18-15 in the series. OPS 771 for the Marlins over the Phillies 773. Pitching, obviously, an experience. You look at the Phillies, but the Marlins, who knows? What if Jesus Luzardo goes out and deals and they hit some home runs and maybe there's a little magic? How do you see this one?
Yeah, I think that the Phillies pitching is underrated. Maybe because the park can sometimes be a good one for hitters. Or maybe I don't know why, but I actually think that might be the best bullpen. I think it's the best bullpen in the postseason. I don't know if you've noticed, but like they have like 4 guys that throw 100, and Kimbrel's.
5 different guys recorded a save for them in September. That's huge.
Yeah, I mean, they got Sir Anthony Dominguez, they got Soto, they got Jose Alvarado, they got guys who've been closers elsewhere. They have guys who throw 100. They have a young guy, Ryan Kerkering, that just blew through the minors and throws 100 and has an 89-mile-an-hour slider. So I really think that's the best bullpen in the playoffs. I think Nola and Wheeler are a fine 1-2. And I think that offense is way better than the Marlins. That's obvious. So, even on the defensive side, if you want to say that they have a fatal flaw in defense, their defense has been among the worst in the big leagues. It's been over and over. This year, they discovered Johan Rojas, like a legitimate center fielder that can push Marsh to left field and Schwarber to DH. They've found some guys that have improved their defense. And so, I don't think that this is necessarily as bad a defense. Even if you look at full season numbers, sometimes you don't get like full season numbers aren't what they are like with Johan Rojas in center. You know what I mean? Like that sometimes you look at full season numbers and it doesn't tell you the whole story. It's what does the roster look like now? And I think I have the Phillies as winning it all, like as sort of a dark horse. That's my pick for winning it all.
What about their first baseman?
Harper?
Bryce Harper, baby.
Yeah.
36 games this year at first. His postseason last year was epic.
Yeah. Epic. And he had like a power outage early in the season with the injury, I think, and then he's got it going again. So the power's back.
I'm excited because all of this stuff I got all this stuff. Once the games start playing, it means nothing.
I mean, we're talking about 3 games. We're talking about 17 games. You know what I mean? Like it's, it really can be anybody. It's frustrating to me as a numbers guy.
If you say, like you said, the Padres were unlucky. Well, if the Padres are unlucky, can a team be lucky?
Yeah, obviously. I mean, the Padres just were the best team in baseball in September by record. So the Padres themselves like figured it out. But I when you look at the numbers and you try to predict things in the postseason, it's things that work for the regular season don't work in the postseason. It's in terms of prediction. And so I just try my best to kind of look at things that I care about, but at the same time, I guess I don't know if that's like a hot take or like a real revelation for anybody.
You're dealing with human beings. I always go back to the
17 games,
I always remember the one that always gets me, and I always like to reference it and switch into another sport real quick because the run was so unbelievable. No one predicted it. It was when the Giants took down the Patriots. The undefeated Patriots are looking like the greatest team of all time. That Giants
helmet catch.
Yeah. Tyree. So that's they had to go to Tampa. All 3 of their playoff games were on the road. They had to go to Tampa, beat Gruden. Then they had to go and play the Cowboys, who they had lost both games to. Then they had to go to Lambeau Field, and it's freezing cold against Aaron Rodgers. So all 3 of those games, they're the underdogs. And then you got to go beat the undefeated Patriots, who people are saying is the greatest team of all time.
Oh, it was the undefeated year too, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like you just don't know. Like we can sit here and say, well, the regular season, postseason, this doesn't work in the postseason. Who knows what works? It's just, it's like I think of Billy Hatcher for the Reds in the 90 World Series against the A's. Think about the stars for the Reds. Think about the stars for the A's. Those are 2 star-studded teams. You got Hall of Famers, great players. And Billy Hatcher's the main guy? I mean, you just don't know.
I love looking through like the list of World Series MVPs. You're just like, some of them you're just like, whoa, that guy was a World Series MVP?
Look at the notes. Don't forget, Jorge Soler a few years ago was the World Series MVP. Great. He's now a Marlin.
Yeah.
By the way, we have found, according to Commander Cody, he has found one thing that all the playoff teams have.
Nice.
They all use their bullpen over 35% of the time.
Now there's your other one's better.
Oh, the thing I said earlier.
Yes.
Every single postseason team has at least one Oakland Athletic on it.
Every single team has a former A on it.
Sorry, where do you want to start?
Well, I was like saying Tampa's got Bethencourt. Who's
Pache?
Yeah, Pache's over there now.
All right, I can't debate it. Is he going to be on the roster?
Good question. We'll find out tomorrow.
All right, technically he's been playing for them. Every single team has a former A?
Yeah, someone tweeted it out earlier. Then I looked and I was like, you know what? They're right. Well, Braves obviously have Olsen.
Murphy, Olsen.
Yeah.
Walt Weiss. They got a ton of old A's.
Let's look at the teams playing. The Twins have Sonny Gray.
Yeah.
And Emilio Pagan. The Brewers have Mark Hanna.
Yeah.
Josh Donaldson.
The Blue Jays have Matt Chapman, Chris Bassett, and Ernie Clement.
No, Ernie Clement.
Diamondbacks have Jace Peterson.
Oh, that was by the nick of their that barely.
Who the Astros have?
I was looking at
Dusty Baker. Dusty Baker's a former, right?
No, there's someone on there. I'd have to think about who it was for them. We did the Phillies already. We did the Orioles have Fuji.
Fuji.
So there's
the Astros have Graveman.
Here is Kendall Graveman.
Well, there you go. We found how do you get to the postseason?
I'm trying to see. Someone tweeted it.
Acquire an A.
I'll see if I can
Max
find
Muncy on the Dodgers.
Muncy, yeah. I'm just trying to think of all the playoff teams overall. We got who the
we got Blue Jays, we got Twins, Rangers,
Brewers.
Jonah Heim,
Brewers, yeah. Jonah Heim,
Simeon, Orioles, Atlanta, Marlins, Jesus Luzardo, AJ Puck.
Someone has Joey Wendell. I forget who has Wendell. Is that the Marlins that have Wendell?
Oh, the Marlins have Wendell, yeah.
And the Rays have Bethencourt, as you mentioned. There's one other A, I think, on the team, too.
I just remember Bethencourt. Isn't that amazing? Like Bethencourt.
Oh, and AJ Puck's on the Marlins, too.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Bethencourt still – I didn't realize he's still doing a lot for the Rays.
Yeah. And I think there must have been a fundamental disagreement about whether or not he could catch. I think that probably was the reason that trade was made.
All right, Eno, great stuff. Are you fired up? I mean, I had the days for you when
I like when there's 3 games in one day. They're all playoff games. I like that. That's fun.
Well, when I saw this, I was it kind of takes you, for people like us who do this every day, people, we're not able just to come in and out. We do this every day.
Yeah.
We made it through a 186-day grind of a regular season. 2,430 games. I think about that. The magnitude, just think about, as Reggie Jackson once said, the magnitude of me. Think about that. 186-day grind of 2,430 games, day after day. All the
I probably watched 500 regular season games, but I wouldn't say that I watched them start to finish. So I watched parts of.
It's like college football on Saturday. It starts at 9 a.m. and it ends with. I was doing the
9 p.m.
I was it's like almost midnight. I was watching After Dark Football FS1. Yes, I'm sitting here doing the A's postgame show, and I'm watching Reno against Fresno State.
Oh,
you can't watch every college football game, but you're like watching parts of every game throughout the day.
That's my life in baseball.
One player a team we forgot, the Dodgers, Blake Trinan.
Or Muncy.
We didn't know. I had Max Muncy for the Dodgers.
Oh yeah, the guy didn't put Muncy on here. Yeah, they didn't. The other Tampa Bay Ray is Jake Diekman.
Oh, Diekman's over.
That's one of your sticky stuff guys right there, What would take us out on this before it all starts? I know you've researched it. What is the one thing the team that wins the World Series has to do?
I'm gonna go with that. Put the ball in play and put it make contact and hit homers. Can I do two things? That's one, two things. I'm gonna say hit homers. If you out homer your opponent, you win. 80-90% of your games. So homer.
That would be interesting to go through the Fall Classic because, like, you remember Bill Mazeroski in that walk-off, that great home run by Pirates, but the Pirates were way outscored by the Yankees in that World Series. It's just in those 4 games, they got hammered and they get 3 games they lost, but the 4 games
the anti-run differential World Series.
Yeah, so I would wonder, like, going through, like, how many times did the team that homered the most won the World Series? Probably a lot, but
yeah.
But I do like that. The team that doesn't sit there and whiff all day long.
Yeah, that's important too.
Because whiffs, I don't know. There's no data behind this. I'm going to do the old eye test. There is something awful about striking out a lot in postseason play on national television. It looks like during the regular season, we don't care. But during the postseason, it seems demoralizing.
There's also this. Velo goes up in the postseason because you're facing the best pitchers. If you have a guy throwing 88 that just got you through the season, you don't necessarily pitch him in the postseason. So like velo goes up in the postseason, adrenaline goes up in the postseason. You're seeing better stuff, and I actually saw some research that shows that as stuff goes up, the importance of your ability to put the bat on the ball goes up. And so bat speed is really important a lot of the time. But as stuff goes up, your bat to ball ability goes up. It is more important. So
breaking news. Jesse Rogers, our buddy from ESPN, friend of this program, has just tweeted.
Brendan Woodruff out for the wild card series and possibly the playoffs with a shoulder injury per Craig Counsell.
No.
Wow.
Still taking him to win.
Will Counsell be the next manager of the Mets?
Yes. Buck Showalter just got fired. David Stearns is over there. Yes.
I love David
And
Stearns.
I think Bob Melvin's going to be the next manager of the Giants. That's my guess.
David Stearns was great today. Hey, listen, I was under contract with the Brewers as of yesterday. I'm just showing up today. I love Bob.
Yeah. But I did have a list of managers from one source. I couldn't get it verified, but I got one source saying Donnie Ecker, Mark DeRosa, and Bob Melvin are on the short list for the Giants.
Donnie Ecker, Bay Area kid, who was now with the Giants, which is with the Rangers. Interesting. That's an interesting name. Yeah, Bob Melvin. I mean, there's going to have to be a parting of ways. He's got 1 year left on his deal.
Yeah, but maybe that could be a way. If Preller keeps his job, that could be a way for Preller to get out of it without firing him, is just let him talk to the Giants.
How can Preller fire another or get rid of another manager and keep his job?
This way he won't be firing them. He'll just be letting him talk to the Giants.
It's insane. It's insane. All right, buddy. Great stuff as always, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Here it is.
The Eno Sarris Show is sponsored by Fieldwork Brewing Company. With 8 taproom locations in Northern California, Fieldwork brings you fresh craft beer direct from the source. Fieldwork will also ship beer direct to your door if you live in California. Visit fieldworkbrewing.com.
Bye, Eno.
See ya.
Great Eno Sarris. Good stuff as always.